PS3 first launched on the 17th of November 2006, a year later than the Xbox 360. It launched with a vast array of problems and it was £100 more expensive. Sony desperately needed a system seller. Uncharted Drake's Fortune was released 12 years ago to mostly good reviews and it was a system seller that Sony had longed for, so you probably would have picked it up and gave it a try, and the same goes for me. I loved this game when I first played it. Well, that was years ago and I wasn't really capable of critical thinking at the time. So when I first got the PS4 last year, the first games I got were the Nathan Drake collection and Uncharted 4. I had to refresh myself before playing Uncharted 4, so I booted up Drake's Fortune. Uncharted 1 starts with a profound quote from Sir Francis Drake. These quotes will appear at the start of each game in the series. The camera pans toward a coffin in the water, then we transition to the coffin on a boat. We're then introduced to our main protagonist, Nathan Drake, a descendant of Sir Francis Drake, and Elena Fisher, a journalist who funded the expedition to find the coffin. Nate opens the coffin to find it empty because Drake faked his own death. He instead finds his journal. Elena starts to argue with Nate because she wants to see the journal for her show, but they're interrupted by pirates. It's a pretty simple encounter. You hide behind cover, pick off some pirates, then melee kill some. It only serves as a tutorial for the gunplay and the melee combat.
I can't leave you alone for a minute, can I?
This is Victor Sullivan. Victor is a human being. Next we see Nate and Sully talking about the journal. The journal contains clues to find a lost city of gold named El Dorado. Sully and Nate then ditch Elena at the dock.
Bitch. Hey! Should have seen that one coming. Ugh.
The writing in this game is so terrible at times that I often had a hard time believing that these characters were even real people. Characters like Nate, Elena and Sully had voice actors that were picked perfectly for their roles. But characters like Man and Man 2 seemed so robotic that cyberlife must have made them so that they could infiltrate human society. Nate and Sully arrive in the Amazon jungle. They walk through the jungle while reminiscing about their past adventures until they find some ancient ruins. They make their way underground to discover that the treasure has already been taken.
No, it wasn't Drake. Check this out. Looks like the Spanish got here before he did. What the hell, Sully?
After some climbing, you blow up in the wall to let Sully pass. You move through the ruins until you hit a dead end. The only way past is to complete this puzzle. I hate them because they're that simple that a fucking 3-year-old could solve them. The answers are in Drake's journal, so all you have to do is go to all 4 points. 1, 2, 3, 4 and that's it. The game would benefit if they weren't included. You have to walk on a very sturdy bridge, but it starts falling behind you. It's an okay set piece, but it's not as bombastic as the ones in later games.
The temple must have been built around this.
Around what?
A statue. A gold statue.
A huge gold statue. And look here, these people, they're worshipping the damn thing. At least, I think they're people.
Of course. El Dorado, the Golden Man.
Nate and Sully continue trekking through the jungle until they find a marooned Nazi submarine. Nate wants to go exploring, but Sully doesn't, so he gives Drake's journal to Sully for no reason whatsoever.
I'm in the captain's quarters. Get this, he's still here. Sully, you're not gonna believe this.
Try me.
I think I found our missing page.
You're kidding.
Looks like Drake and our German pals were after the same track, and I've got the map that's gonna lead us right to it.
Nate, this better not be another wild goose chase. We've got to get something out of this trip or...
That's probably bad.
He swims out of the boat to find out that Sully has been held captive by Man. Sully is indebted to Man, so he told him about the treasure. So if you noticed that I've been calling this Man, it's because he's one of the most forgettable villains I have ever seen. A day after beating this game, I forgot Man was even in it. Inexcusable! I think that the polar opposite of Man is Red Dead Redemption's villain, Dutch van der Linde. Man is as charismatic as a soggy cardboard box with a copy of Call of Duty Black Ops on top of it.
Unless, of course, you found something in there, Mr. Drake. that might compensate for all this unpleasantness.
While Dutch is the opposite, being as charismatic as my Fallout character Chad at speech 100 and his charisma at 10.
Please, gentlemen, this is a terrible mistake. This is a case of mistaken identity. What is worse than admonishing a man for the sins of another?
Now, whoa. Come on, Roman. He's got nothing to...
Sully is shot and killed? Remember how Nathan knocked over that torpedo earlier? It blows up so that he can escape. This just proves that a lot of events in these games are purely based on luck. You run away until you meet Elena, they quickly reconcile their differences because of Sully's death. You fight through some guys in the ruins that you were just in, then you arrive at Elena's jeep, which transition to Nate and Elena on Sully's plane travelling to the next island. On my first playthrough, I honestly thought that this was the same island. I mean, come on, they look identical. The plane gets hit with anti-aircraft fire. This is so not cool. The plane starts plummeting towards the ground, so Nate and Elena have to parachute out, and this marks the point of no return. After this, the story slows down to a grinding halt. After Nate lands, all you do is shoot, and fucking shoot for 2 chapters straight. Keep in mind that this is a relatively short game, 6 hours in fact. Despite what I just said, this wouldn't have been as bad if it wasn't for the shit piece of shit fucking awful gameplay. The gameplay is really simple. You peek from cover and kill some guys, rinse and repeat until they're all dead. Try something else and you're dead. All the guns feel the same. There are a few variations, but it just feels like a reskin. For example, the AK-47 and the M4 or the pistols. There's also one-shot weapons like the Desert Eagle. Usually the camera is over the shoulder or behind the back in third-person shooter games, but in this game, it seems like the camera is at Nate's side, not his shoulder or his back. This makes it feel extremely floaty, and the bullet sponge enemies don't help either. I've never liked aiming with a controller, but in this game it's terrible. You can try to improve the aiming, but this just creates more problems. You can either be a meth head on speed or a junkie when he gets his daily dose of methadone. If you're close enough to an enemy, you can engage in melee combat. You have 2 options, either spam square 5 times or hit square, triangle, square for a brutal combo. Brutal combos cause enemies to drop more ammo. It doesn't have much depth, but this game is a shooter, so I can excuse that. Like every other Uncharted, one of the main types of gameplay is climbing. It's painfully simple. Nate does all of the work for you. All you need to do is move the analog stick in the right direction, press X to jump to another ledge every now and then, and that's it. It can be really boring and tedious. It's not like the puzzles. I don't wish that it wasn't in the game altogether. I just wish you didn't have to do it so fucking much. Remember when you had to fight out of the ruins with Elena? At the start, you can either choose to start shooting or engage in stealth. I was looking forward to killing some enemies and then dealing with the rest. If you kill someone stealthily, the whole fucking squad immediately knows where you are. You can't lose them either. Future games improve on this though. On the PS3, you had to awkwardly rotate the controller to throw grenades and balance on logs. I'm honestly so glad that they changed it in the remaster. To see the graphical improvements that Bluepoint Games made in the remaster, I got out my old PS3, but it didn't work with my fucking capture card, so I had to find some high quality PS3 gameplay. Also, after plugging my PS4 back in, the capture card just stopped fucking working. I'm still trying to fix it to this day. Keep in mind, this game looked great back in 2007, but 12 years on it really does start to show its age. Bluepoint Games did a really good job remastering these games, but more on the PS3 version. As I said, the graphics were great back in 2007. For example, when you walk into water, your clothes get wet. The cutscenes are great, they're all motion captured by the voice actors. The only thing that isn't motion captured is the facial movements. They're obviously going to look janky at times, but not as janky as Fallout 4 or Mass Effect Andromeda. They look good nonetheless, but the faces look like melted plastic. The environments are really good as well. They're honestly quite beautiful. Nothing compared to games releasing now though. The screen tearing was pretty bad when you moved the camera drastically. Keep in mind, if this was 2007, hardly any of my criticisms of the graphics would be valid. The remaster actually improves on most of my criticisms, like the melted plastic faces and the screen tearing. Also, the game now runs at 60 FPS, which is brilliant. Love it. At the end of chapter 6, the story finally picks back up.
Crap.
Elena finds Nate in a prison cell. I enjoyed the irony since I just spent an hour and 20 minutes looking for her.
Hey, Drake.
Eddie Raja. I should have guessed.
Eddie and Nate have some history. Eddie wants Nathan to help him find the treasure. Eddie is definitely the most memorable villain in this game. Well, compared to Man at least. Overall, I enjoyed this bit. Elena rips open the bars so Nathan can escape. He steals the map back from Eddie. Nate gets on Elena's jeep. You pilot a turret which fires grenades and a machine gun. You have to shoot the enemies chasing you in either a motorbike or a jeep. A nice detail that I noticed is firing a grenade near trees will cause them to collapse. Nathan and Elena then arrive at a dead end. While trying to drive away, Eddie and his henchmen miraculously appear out of the blue. So while Nate's trying to get the jeep to start, Eddie has the time to get out of the truck and walk towards them. Bit of a nitpick, but still unacceptable. Eddie thinks that Nate is working with Man to set him up, so he demands that Nate gives him the map. While Eddie is distracted, Nate reverses off the cliff and into the water. You get out of the water and look, more fucking shooting. This is a lot better than earlier because Nate has Elena to talk to. You fight through the enemies until you find a jet ski. The part after this is one of the worst parts in a video game that I have ever played. You have to drive a jet ski through the river while dodging explosive barrels, or Elena could shoot a grenade launcher at the barrels or at the enemies shooting at you. You have to stop and shoot the enemies or they will kill you. It's that simple. That's stupid. Not to mention that the controls are floatier than the actual combat. This got so annoying that I just said fuck it and played something else. Eventually I came back and pushed through it like a fucking true hero. Then Elena wonders if something supernatural caused the colony to vanish. You get off the jet ski and head towards the tower. All you have to know about this bit is more fucking jet ski. When you get off the jet ski, you have to fight through more waves of enemies. Then you climb up the tower, you kill a couple of more enemies and zipline to the customs house. Nate and Elena find the ship manifests which contain the treasure. You'll notice that Nate and Elena are getting more comfortable with each other as Nate opens up about Francis Drake's ring. You fight through some enemies until you reach the balcony. Elena wants to stay and get some footage for her show while Nathan goes and gets the boat. You jump across the balconies, then one starts falling apart. After that, you keep going while getting shot at. The game honestly can't leave you alone with your thoughts for 5 minutes without a gunfight. You then make your way into one of the better combat arenas in this game. There's lots of cover, more verticality, and you get to use the M4. After you get to the stairs at the other side of the arena, you get to use the turret as enemies literally start coming out of the fucking walls. You open the gate and press on. Nate takes cover behind the wall and Elena shows up. Nathan and Elena agree to stay on the island to rescue Sully. They have to head to the north of the island. Soon after this, Elena falls through a bridge and has to drop her camera so Nathan can pull her up. You later arrive at a port and that's when the dread began to set in. I had to drive another fucking jet ski. This time you had a pistol instead of a grenade launcher. You could hip fire it as well, so it must be better. Wrong! It's even worse. You know what? I'm not even fucking talking about shit anymore. Nate and Elena arrive at the northern side of the island. The two find a strange trap.
So what? The Spanish booby-trapped the island to protect their gold?
This wasn't made by the Spanish. Take a closer look at the spikes.
You have got to be kidding me.
This is from our plane.
Wait, that doesn't make any sense, though. Why would someone set traps like this when their own men are crawling all over the island?
They wouldn't. Something's been here since a trap was sprung.
Something or someone.
Oh, thanks, Freddy. Foreshadowing.
After this, it's just more shoot until they find Sullivan. Remember when Nate gave Sully the journal back at the start? It turns out that's what stopped the bullet. Wow, such gamer! You then have to solve another puzzle to continue, and it's just as simple as the last one. It just took me half an hour to realise that. The notebook tells you to either point the statues north, south, east or west, and the compass is on the ground. Again, it's pointless. When you complete it, the bookcase opens. The wall opens a pathway, Nate goes down by himself. I've been going on about how the puzzles are stupid, the redundant gameplay is also stupid, and how the jet ski sequences are exceptionally stupid. There is one moment that tops all of these things, one fucking retarded moment. When you go underground, you're feeling good, you have the upper hand on Man, you're finally going to get a moment of silence. But no, Man's henchmen are already down here. This is by far the most brain dead, half-baked moment in the entire franchise, The Last of Us, and any game I've ever played.
Jeez, these guys are everywhere.
Well done, Nate. Such an astute observation. Later, Nate eavesdrops on a conversation between Eddie, Man, and Man 2. This scene is meant to introduce you to Man 2. You might notice that you keep retreading over the same areas. That's a little thing I like to call laziness. You make it to the top of the church, you climb to the other side just so you can open a window that shows you the next building you have to go to. Sully creates a distraction so that you can fight your way towards the building. After that, you meet Elena and Sully in the building. Then you solve a quick puzzle that requires just a little bit of thought, and it opens a secret door to a puzzle room. There's a set path that you need to follow. It's really simple when you've done it before. In usual Uncharted fashion, Eddie's henchmen show up out of nowhere. Nate and Elena find the treasure vault. Instead of finding the treasure, they find Sir Francis Drake's corpse. This is definitely my favourite moment in the game. It takes itself seriously and it's one of the calmer moments in the game. After that, Eddie and one of his men show up, so this is what all that foreshadowing has been leading up to. This is the moment where it all comes together. This is when the big, spooky monsters reveal themselves. The monsters add some different styles of combat. You can try the slow cover shooting you've been doing for the whole game, or you can run and gun. The former usually doesn't work and the latter's definitely more fun. You and Eddie fight some monsters while Elena tries to lower the rope so that you can escape. Then Eddie gets a little bit too cocky and a monster pulls him into the pit. That's Eddie oofed, so one villain down, 2 to go. You fight more monsters until Elena drops the rope down to you, then you escape into a Nazi military base. Nate and Elena try and turn on the lift, but the power isn't on, so Nate has to go turn it on. The next part is pretty simple. You climb to the other side and turn the power on. One thing I really love about this game, that it's the only one in the series that is able to maintain a sense of mystery. Then Nathan learns that the statue isn't the treasure, but the curse contained inside is. Man and Man 2 hold Elena hostage, so Nate and Sully won't interfere anymore. You fight through waves of Man's men and the monsters. I personally don't understand why Naughty Dog mixed these enemy types together. If you stay behind cover and pick off Man's men, you get fucked by the Spaniard monsters, or if you run and gun to avoid the monsters, you get destroyed by Man's men. You then fight your way out of the bunker to find Sully. Sully is pinned down at the church, so you fight your way over to him. Then you and Sully fight your way through the church. Remember how we kept retreading over the same areas over and over again? Well, this was one of them, and it's also where the treasure is. I really don't understand how Man's men or even Nathan haven't found it. Not a big deal, but grrr! So Nate and Sully open the secret passageway and head down. They see that Man and Man 2 have found the treasure before them. They're about to get the drop on him, but after all, he plans for every contingency. So he must have planned for the Andromeda Galaxy colliding with the Milky Way Galaxy, because he plans for every single fucking contingency. Man 2 tells Man to open the sarcophagus. This is it. This is the moment that I've been waiting for. Man 2 is the twist villain. I can get how people would enjoy this, but I personally don't. Man had all this build up, all this development. His arc was just a masterclass in characters, just to be killed in such a petty way. For some reason, if you jump into the water, it's an insta-kill. Just a bit stupid is all. You chase after the helicopter and jump onto the statue. This cutscene feels a bit rushed to me, mainly because the guy shooting at Nate isn't even holding onto the helicopter, and it just doesn't feel that polished. Elena kicks the guy out, causing some epic friendly fire. Man 2 is forced to make a crash landing onto his boat. We're finally here, chapter 22. What happens next is one of the worst boss battles I've ever fucking played. All you do is peek from cover when Man 2 is reloading, shoot when he's not, and that's it. You try anything else, you die. You move to the next area and repeat. When you get to the helipad, it gets even worse. You have to get close enough to Man so that you can charge him. It gets so scripted to the point if he's not even looking at you, he'll draw so quickly that it'll make Arthur Morgan himself froth with envy. Nate knocks him out and runs towards Elena. Man 2 gets back up and Nate pushes the chopper off the boat, and it takes Man 2 and El Dorado down into the depths of the ocean where they belong. Then Sully shows up with a boat and some treasure. This ending always makes me smile. I really don't know why. Maybe it's the nostalgia factor, even though it's as abrupt as me ending this video in the middle of a
I'm trying to listen to the new Robert Palmer tape, but Evelyn, my supposed fiancée, keeps buzzing in my ear.